Okay, good day, grade 7, Plato and Euclid. So for today, we'll have our discussion for lesson 2, week 2. Okay, it is a continuation of what we have learned last meeting. Okay, but before we proceed to our main agenda for today, we'll first have a review. Okay, it is important that we remember what we have learned last meeting. Okay, let's have a review. Okay, so for the first question, he or she is an Italian educator and physician, believe that human beings have fundamental needs that must be met for survival and growth. So who is this person? Okay, I'll give you time to think and share your idea with us. Okay, very good. She is Maria Montessori. Okay, but what are the two needs of a man, or what are the two needs that Maria Montessori proposed? Okay, take your time. Okay, very good. So the two needs that Maria Montessori proposed are physical and spiritual needs. Okay, very good. Let's proceed. Needs that humans require to live and stay healthy. Or what type of needs is being uh, asked in this question? Okay, very good. The answer is physical needs. So an example of physical needs, of course, we have water, we have food, shelter, clothing, and of course, we need oxygen and a shelter to survive in this world. So those are the physical needs that a human need to survive in their daily living. Okay, how about the next one? Are the inner needs that help people find meaning, purpose, happiness, and healthy relationships. So, what type of needs is being asked in this question? Okay, very good. So, the answer is spiritual needs. And an example of spiritual needs, of course, we need education, we need love, we need arts, we need of course, acceptance from others to grow mentally healthy. Okay. So we don't just nourish our mind, we nourish our soul. So that is spiritual needs. Okay. Let's proceed. So it is the background information surrounding a literary work that helps reader understand its meaning. So this answered the question when, where, how the story happened in the story. Okay, again, uh, think of this as a background lens in literary works. Okay, very good. So the answer is indeed literary context. Again, this literary context is the background information surrounding a literary work that helps reader understand its meaning. Or we can also call this the background lens of a story. Okay, it answered the question where, when, how, and who are we talking about the story. Okay, so that is literary context. So in literary context, uh, it can help us understand the story much more deeper and much more meaningful. Okay, so that is literary context. Okay, what are the three types of literary context? Okay, we have discussed this also last meeting. Okay, okay, very good. So the three types of literary context we have, of course, biographical, historical, and lastly, socio-cultural. Very good. Okay. So it's when we learn about the author's life to help us understand their story better. What type of context is being asked in this question? Is it biographical? Is it historical? Or is it socio-cultural? Okay, very good. So the answer is biographical again. When we learn about the author's life, we learn about the biography of the author or the poet or the writer itself. Okay, it helps us understand the real life experience that influences the writer to write its story or the poem. Next, it is the time, period, and events in history that influence how the story is written and what happens in it. Okay, when we talk about time, what context are we talking about? Or what context is being asked in this question? Okay, very good. So the answer is indeed historical context. Okay, next. This refers to the customs, traditions, beliefs, values, and way of life of the people represented in the literary work. Okay, when we talk about the beliefs, the traditions, the values, the way of life, of course, we talk about their culture. Very good. So the answer is socio-cultural context. Okay. Now I believe that we're all ready to move on to our next session or the next topic that we're about to discuss for today. Okay. Okay. So for our topic for today, it is all about narrative poetry. Okay. What is narrative poetry? Okay. What is narrative? When we talk about narrative, what comes to your mind when you hear the word narrative? Okay, let's define what is narrative. When we talk about narrative poetry, it is a long form of verse that tells the entire story. Okay, it has beginning, middle, and ending. And of course, this includes characters, plot, conflict, and resolution. And it retains the poetic device such as meter and rhyme. Okay, when we talk about narrative poetry, these are types of poem that tells a story. Okay, it has a structure of a story such as a plot that includes exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, a resolution. It also has characters, like antagonists, protagonists, and of course, the settings which tell us when and where the story happens. Okay, let's further define what is narrative poetry. Okay. So narrative poetry answers the question, what events happened in the poem, such as the plot? Who are the characters? Who are the protagonists and antagonists? Okay, of course, the protagonist, that is the main character in the story, and the antagonist, this or he or she is the opposing character to the main character. Who is speaking? The narrator, or what point of view is the narrator speaking? Is it in the first person point of view, or is it in the third person point of view? What is the conflict and resolution? Or what struggle is being shown in the story? Is it man versus self, or man versus nature, man versus society, and where did it happen? When and where did the story happen? Okay, that answers what is the setting of the story. Okay, okay, first, narrative poetry tells a story. Okay, in this section, we will talk about who is the narrator of the story. Okay. When we talk about the narrator, he or she may be a character or an observer of the action or someone retelling the story. So when we talk about narrator, we have the point of view. Okay, so the point of view, or what we call POV, this refers to the narrator's perspective and its connection to the story. So we have two types of point of view. We have first person perspective, then third person perspective. So in first person perspective, if the narrator is a character in the story. And third person perspective, if the storyteller is an observer and does not refer to himself as the narrator. Okay, but what are the difference between a first person and a third person perspective or third person point of view? Let's further define the difference between both. Okay, so in first person point of view, the narrator is a character in the story. Or he or she uses pronouns such as I, me, my, we, us, our. Whereas third person point of view, the narrator is outside the story. It means he or she is not a character in the story. The narrator uses pronouns such as he, she, they, him, her, them. Okay? Then, for the first person point of view, readers experience event through one character's thoughts and feelings. Whereas, third person point of view, the readers see the story from the perspective of one or more characters, depending on the type of third person narration. It means the narrator doesn't just see one point of view of a character. The narrator can see multiple point of view of characters in the story. Okay, unlike first person point of view, it focuses on one character's thoughts and feeling. In third person point of view, the narrator can see the point of view of not just one but two or more characters. Okay. So first person point of view limited to what the narrator knows or experiences, whereas third person point of view can be limited to one character's thoughts. Know that the thoughts of or the narrator can know the thoughts of many characters. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, next. Narrative poetry includes story elements. So what are these elements? So a story must have characters, plot with action, conflict, and resolution. Okay, let's talk about characters. So when we talk about characters, this could be a person, an animal, or a thing that performs actions and speaks dialogue in a story. It means a character can be an animal, an object, or a thing. Okay, a character doesn't just revolves around humans or person. It can also be an animal or an object, as long as uh it have its own dialogue. Okay, for example, ayan. In this example, who do we have? Okay, very good. We have Lapu-Lapu and Magellan. Okay, question. What type of character is Magellan? And what type of character is Lapu-Lapu? Okay, very good. So Magellan is an antagonist which opposes the main character or the protagonist, which is Lapu-Lapu. Okay, again, Lapu-Lapu protagonist, Magellan antagonist, which is the opposing character. Another example, who is the character or who are the characters here in the picture? Okay, very good. We have Harry Potter and Voldemort. Okay. Question. Who is the protagonist and who is the antagonist? Okay, very good. So Harry Potter is the protagonist and Voldemort is the antagonist. Okay, let's proceed. Narrative poetry includes story elements. This includes the setting. Of course, when we talk about the settings, we talk about when and where the story happens. Okay. It provides time and place where most of the events of the story took place. Okay, next we have the plot. Okay, when we talk about plot, it is the connected sequence of events that happened in the story. Okay, of course, first we have the exposition, the rising action. In the middle, we have climax, then falling action, and lastly, the resolution. Okay, let's have an example. So what we have here is the story of Aladdin. Okay, for those who are familiar with the story, that's good. And for those who are not familiar with the story, that's fine. Okay, what we have here is the plot outline of the story. So using the plot outline, we can understand the summary of what happened in the story. So of course, we have the exposition. So the exposition introduces the character and place of the story. So example, Aladdin is a poor boy in Agrabah who dreams of a better life. So the character that is introduced in this exposition is Aladdin, and the place happens in Agrabah. Okay, again, the character and the place of the story. Next, the rising action. So in this part of the story, the conflict is being introduced, and once the conflict is introduced, the atmosphere becomes higher and the tensions become much more critical. Okay. So when Aladdin finds the magic lamp and uses the genie's wish to become a prince, it caught a lot of attention of other characters, which lead to the climax part. So in the climax part, Jafar steals the lamp and uses its power against Aladdin. Okay? In the climax parts, this is the part of the story where the protagonist and the antagonist are having a fight on whoever will win. Okay? So in the following action, in this part of the story, we'll know who won in the climax part. Okay? So in this part, Aladdin defeats Jafar with cleverness. Okay? Then lastly, in the resolution part, this is the part where there is what do you call that? Already a happy ending. Aladdin frees the genie and Jasmine can be together. Okay. So in this part, we will also learn what are the moral values and lessons we have learned to the story on the story. Okay. So that is the plot outline of the story Aladdin. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, narrative poetry includes story elements. Okay, we have conflict. So when we talk about conflict, it is the struggle between two opposing forces in the story. So example, character versus character or character versus self, character versus nature, and character versus society. Okay, so let's further define the type of conflict in a narrative poetry. So first we have character versus character. So this type of conflict shows two men, which is opposing, are fighting. Okay. So in this example, we have Lapu-Lapu and Magellan. So Lapu-Lapu and Magellan is an example of character versus character. Okay. Character versus character also shows protagonist versus antagonist. Okay, next, character versus self. Okay, so in this conflict, the struggle is being experienced by the character itself, of course. So in this story, I mean, in this example, we have Juan Tamal. So what do you think is a struggle being experienced by Juan? Okay, very good. His laziness. Okay, so because of his laziness on waiting for the fruit to fall in his mouth, the fruit became rotten. Okay, next. Okay, next we have characters versus nature. Okay. What is the struggle being experienced by the character if its opposing character is nature? Okay. So in this example, we have Moana. Okay. So in Disney's Moana, the character versus nature is shown because the conflict drives the entire plot. So Moana must fight and cooperate with the natural world, battling against raging oceans, monstrous sea, or an ecological crisis where her island's crops and fish died because humanity stole the heart of nature. So because they stole the heart of nature, Moana has to fight or have to fight nature itself. Okay? So that is character versus nature. Okay, next we have character versus society. So in this example, we have the story of Shrek. Why do you think Shrek is an example of character versus society? I want you to observe the appearance of Shrek. Okay, what does he look like? Okay, very good. He has green skin, uh, he wears different clothing, he looks different from the others, and of course, he is an ogre. Okay, unlike the society that he lives in, he is surrounded by people, but he is the only ogre in that society. That is why he is being judged and he is being judged in the society because he looks different. Okay, stereotypes and prejudice are being shown in the conflict itself. Okay? Because you look different, the society will not accept you and will be against you. Okay, so that is character versus society. Next, narrative poetry also use poetic techniques. So this includes rhyme scheme. So we have already discussed this. So when we talk about rhyming scheme, these are repetition of syllables in the end of line and may form a pattern such as ABAB or ABBA. Okay, narrative poetry also use imagery. So imagery, these are vivid description of place, event, or character that creates a clear picture that appeals to the senses of the readers. So what are the senses of the readers? Of course, this includes the touch, smell, taste, the sight, and the auditory. Okay, next. Okay, here's an example of imagery. So the golden sun dipped slowly into the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, while the cool breeze carried the scent of salt from the sea. So why it's imagery? Okay. So the sight, golden sun, it tells us the shades of orange and pink. Okay, the smell, the scent of salt, and the touch, the cool breeze. Okay, so the senses are shown in this example. So it creates a mental picture by appealing to the senses. Okay, now let's analyze structure from Biag Nilamang. Okay. So the river swelled with fish so bright, their silver scales reflected light. The crabs crawled out, the shrimps leaped high. The shores turned white beneath sky. Okay. So the rhyming here are bright light, high and sky, which shows the rhyme pattern of AABB. So the imagery that is used, sparkling fish, shrimps leaping, and the shore turning white. So this paints a lively, natural image to the reader's mind. Another, then Lam-ang called his dog so dear, and the rooster with a crow so clear. He washed himself in the flowing stream, white bubble rose like milk in a dream. Okay. So the rhyme, we have dear and clear and stream and dream. So it shows the rhyming scheme pattern of AABB. So the imagery that we used here is the bubble rising like milk. So it creates a vivid picture of Lam-ang's magical bath in the river. Okay, narrative poetry also use hyperbole. So it is a type of figure of speech that is used to exaggerate claims that are not meant to be taken literally. So again, hyperbole is used for emphasis not to be taken literally. Okay. My example, I've told you a million times to clean your room. Okay, so in this example, do you think a person can tell you a million times in just a specific moment of time? No, it is just exaggerated to show emphasis and not to show a literal statement. Another example, it's raining people in the market. Okay, that is too much exaggerated and it is not possible to rain people. Okay, another example, I am so hungry I could eat a horse. So do you think a person can eat a whole horse? Okay, this bag weighs a ton. Okay, again, it is exaggerated and it doesn't show a factual statement. He runs faster than the wind. I have a mountain of homework to finish. And she cried a river after watching the sad movie. So if you observe the examples shown here, uh, the sentence are exaggerated and it doesn't show a factual statement. It is just used for effects and it doesn't show a literal or factual statement. Okay, next. Example of hyperbole in Biyag ni Lamang. Okay, so when Lamang bathed in the Amburayan River, the water became so dirty that the fish, crabs, and shrimp all died. Okay, another. Lamang caught a giant fish with his bare hands, so huge that it swallowed him before he killed it. Okay, another. With just his shout, the houses of his enemies collapsed and the earth shook beneath their feet. So again, the statement here are exaggerated for emphasis. And lastly, narrative poetry entertain. So to make the story memorable, the narrators use different elements such as humor and tragedy. They may also combine fantasy with reality. Okay, now let's proceed to the types of narrative poetry. So we have five types of narrative. So first we have epic, then we have ballad, next we have ideal, lay, then lastly we have verse novel. Okay, let's define what is epic. So when we talk about epic, it is a long narrative poem that tells the story of a hero and his adventures, often involving gods, battles, and great deeds. So an example of that, we have Biag ni Lam-ang. Okay, so Biag ni Lam-ang shows the story of hero and his adventures. Okay, again, epics are long narrative that shows a heroic adventure of a character. Okay, next we have ballad. So it is a poem that narrates a story of a romance and adventures in a short stanza. And ballads are meant to be sung. This means it is performed orally or verbally. So ballads are usually in short stanzas with simple language. So the listener, or I mean the listeners must understand the ballad right away. So the author should use simple language. Okay. Next, we have ideal. So when we talk about ideal, it is a short poem that describes a peaceful, simple, and rural life, often idealizing nature and shepherd life. Okay, so that's ideal. Next we have lay. So lay, it is referred to as a medieval lyric poem. So it is a long narrative poem that tells the stories of romance and chivalry. Okay. And lastly, we have the verse novel. So it refers to a novel-length story told using shorter poem. So narrator is the first person perspective and the chapters are short and storytelling is not linear. Okay, so that is verse novel. Okay, so that summarizes our entire lesson 2. If you have any more questions, clarifications, just send me a message personally. Okay, so thank you for listening and goodbye, grade 7.